delight to welcome all of you to Vivekananda Yoga University's Distinguished Speaker Series. And here we are with our esteemed speaker, Dr. David Frawley ji, or he's known as Pandit Vamadeva Shastri ji. He's a world-renowned Vedic teacher, a Vedacharya, and author of 50 plus published books on yoga, Ayurveda, Vedic studies, translated into 20 languages. Again, he has many, many accolades. One of them is he's received a prestigious Padma Bhushan Award from the government of India in 2015 and a D.Lit. Doctor of Letters Award from S. Vyasa and Rama Manohar Lohia University. He's influenced by Ramana Maharshi, Aurobindo, and many other great gurus. And he's very actively involved with the sort of Aurobindo Ashram and Ramana Ashram as well, and many, many other global initiatives. He's the founder director of the American Institute of Vedic Studies, www.vedanet.com. Which offers courses on Vedic knowledge, systems of yoga, Vedanta, Ayurveda, and Jyotish. He emphasizes their global relevance for the future of humanity. So again, we are so delighted to have such an esteemed speaker today. And today he'll be talking about yoga and Ayurveda in the digital age and its impact on our psychology and immunity, and for all about self and societal transformation. So with that, I hand over the floor to you, Dr. Frawley ji. Namaste, and thank you very much for making time. Namaste.
Namaste, Prashant. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm very happy to be with you, and I'm very happy to be with Vyasa and VaYU. I'm coming to you from the state of New Mexico in the mountains here, and it is just about sunset going on for us here, and a beautiful day, a bit windy. And I'm happy we can connect globally on these issues. And I've been involved in these organizations for some time now. And I'm very happy to join you with these set of teachings and to be part of this greater family of yoga and Vivekananda and all the factors involved. Now we have an interesting topic. I'm going to explore only parts of it, which is yoga and Ayurveda in the digital age. We live in a period in which humanity is changing. Our technology is changing in a radical way. Our society is changing. Our identities are changing, environmental stress, ecological stress, new developments, new insights, but it is presenting a new way of life and a new environment that we need to adjust to. It's very different than the environment I grew up in. I'm someone who actually wrote over half a dozen books on a typewriter, so I'm very happy to have the computer and the word processor for doing that. But at the same time, I see there is a lot of unrest, division, conflict, and difficulty adjusting to the new technology. And that is one of the main factors I'm going to be addressing today. Because in the industrial age, we had so many things. We had all the cars and airplanes and televisions and movies and all of that had changed our society quite a bit. But today, our information technology going into now the cell phone is not only changing our environment, it's changing our jobs, how we think, how we speak. It's even changing our nervous system and how we relate to the world, how we relate to nature. And it's even changing how we view ourselves. For many of us, our virtual reality is more important than our physical reality. And of course, we are in a virtual presentation now, which is very helpful. But at the same time, there are many changes going on. There's also changes in our medical system, which is now highly drug and surgery oriented, many pharmaceutical drug-based products, vaccines, even genetic manipulation, so many things going on. And I want to look at the importance of yoga and Ayurveda in that context, because one thing is clear. we still need a higher consciousness, a greater self-awareness, detachment from the outer factors of the material world, a discernment between what is called the eternal and the transient, or the outer and the inner. We must remember that our lives at an inner spiritual level are a journey into consciousness and self-realization, and also that our humanity and our society should be involved in an evolution of consciousness and a higher intelligence on the inside. I'm not saying we can't have support on the outside, but there are also factors of higher knowledge, great teachers, higher states of consciousness, cosmic intelligence, and so forth, that we can access inwardly. The ancient sages said that the great yogi can travel around the entire universe without leaving the room or the cave in which he lives. So the main issue I want to address is how all of this is affecting our lives and our nervous systems. We are living in what we could call the electrical age. Everything is digitalized, electrified, and now we also have an artificial intelligence or a computer base that is guiding us, but also telling us what is true or false, what is proper information or not, and even now making possible decisions for us, or we look to the machine for guidance. And one of the rules of the yoga approach to the mind is that the mind imitates what we give our greatest attention to. So if we are giving our greatest attention to screens, we begin to think like a screen, or we tend to look at things in a two-dimensional way. So in that context, I want to look into some of the main factors of the yoga practice, some in more detail than in others. Yoga and Ayurvedic psychology are strongly connected. And in the Ayurvedic standpoint, of course, we have the three doshas of Vata, Pitta, Kapha that affect us at a physical and psychological level. And the new technology is very strong to stimulate, but also to disturb Vata dosha, causing fear, anxiety, even panic at a social level, insecurity, uncertainty, a very fast movement in which we are often ungrounded and lacking peace and calm, because our prana itself is an electrical force. So our prana is getting electrified from the outside, which can disturb it in various ways, can expand it in various ways. And this also affects the other doshas. If we Pitta type, fiery type gets more electrical energy, then the anger, the agitation, the assertion can also be pushed out of balance eventually. And kapha types can be stimulated into action, but they can also be caught in a lethargy in which we look to the outside to stimulate us, and we become spectators, letting the world display itself on a computer stage, and we're looking from the outside and get caught in our own darkness and inertia. I'm not saying there aren't positive things there. There are connections of communication between people. There are better ways of seeing the world. There are other aspects of travel going on, but you can see there is a lot of chaos today. And so what is happening, say, with the younger generation now is growing up on a cell phone, with a cell phone. Now, even in the American schools, the children have the cell phone on the desk, and the teacher in the class is integrated into the cell phone. But in the process, our minds become like that, a small box, a screen, lots of stimulation, entertainment, and distraction. So let us see how that looks in the yogic sense. Yoga in Yoga Sutras is obviously and simply from the beginning the calming, silencing of the mind, which eventually can take us to the state of unitary consciousness or samadhi. And it allows us to master all the vrittis or functions of the mind, whether it's memory, sleep, right perception, wrong perception, imagination. The mind is actually in many ways like a computer in that it has these different tools to help us understand the external world, calculation, information, name, form, and number, and allows us to address our duties, our jobs, our activities in society, and our needs of the human body. But as yoga teaches us, we have a deeper self, Atma, Purusha, which is the consciousness and the state of seeing and self-awareness, which is behind and beyond the body, prana, and mind. So yoga is not against the outer usage of the mind, but it says to have real happiness and self-realization, we have to go to the inner intelligence, the viveka, vairagya, and vijnana, which transcends the outer mind, the manas principles. So if we want to master that technology, we need a greater calm, attention, awareness, introspection, and ability to turn the technology on and also to turn the technology off and to clear our minds of the technology. Or as I've written in some contexts, we also need to know how to reset our minds every day, to empty it of the burden of information and to bring it back to that state of calm and awareness that is necessary to use our technology with detachment and compassion and wisdom. As it stands today, we still, even though we have this great technology, we still have the same old human mind and emotions: fear, anger, pride, lust, attachment, and these can easily overwhelm us. The search to have more power, more position, more money, the external factors of rajas, rajoguna in particular. And so we can also weaponize our new technology. We always tend to weaponize our technologies because we're a rather aggressive species. And so the technology also reflects certain vested interest, whether they are socially, politically, commercially, business-wise. So we need to reclaim and hold to our greater individual self-awareness. Our true self is not defined by society or by technology. It is an inner state of self-awareness, one with the self-awareness of the greater universe, and we can employ that to use the body and mind and any instrument with, again, higher awareness, devotion, compassion, truthfulness, all the principles and practices that we have in the yamas and niyamas of yoga. These are the principles of sattvic living. These are the behavioral medicine for purifying the mind, which yoga and Vedantic texts called chitta shuddhi or chitta shodhana, creating sattva guna in the mind, which is the basis for meditation, self-healing, and self-realization. So clearing rajas and tamas from the mind is very important. And from our behavior, excess aggression, excess inertia, ignorance, arrogance, all of that, and developing inner balance, calm, harmony, respect, peacefulness, and the ability to harmonize with all. Now, what I want to focus on are the three limbs of yoga as the pranayama, pratyahara, and dharana, because these are the key to understanding our energies and getting them under control, and also understanding and harmonizing our relationship with the external world, and also with now, of course, our technology at various levels. So we are living beings. We are manifestations of prana. Prana is the organic or biological electrical force that keeps us alive and keeps everything moving and flowing within us. And of course, we experience that more simply and primarily through the breathing process. Actually, prana never dies, and actually, we never die. And actually, we don't breathe, the body breathes, but it's the breath that holds and keeps the prana in the body. And it also can be manipulated, or it can be harmonized to ensure the proper flow of energies in the body through the circulatory system, respiratory system, nervous system, and brain, so that we have the proper organic functioning in all of our bodily systems. At the same time, there is the deeper prana within us, and there is the prana that energizes the mind. The pranas have the capacities of expansion, contraction, dhyana, samana, ascending, descending energies, udana, upana, and creating more prana. And in this regard, we can connect to inner pranas, inner forces of subtle lokas, subtle body, subtle energies, and we can connect to the prana of nature. Food has a specific prana, air has a specific prana, but there is even a prana behind the universe as a whole, the healing force of nature. In fact, Vedanta teaches us that the world of nature is dominated by sattva guna. That's why we go out into nature for healing, for expansion, for deeper awareness, and so forth, whereas rajas and tamas tend to prevail in human behavior because of the stress, the agitation, the conflict, the assertion that goes on. So what's happening today is our prana is also becoming electrified from the outside. We are facing tremendous stimulation, digital stimulation, all the media, all the electrical forces around us, and that tends to disturb our organic prana and also our inner spiritual prana. Organic prana is based upon harmonization of the bodily systems, and the spiritual prana is based upon calmness, centering, quiet of the mind, which we don't have very often because we're constantly being stimulated. And one of the problems of stimulation is that it makes you depressed in the long run, because you become dependent upon the stimulation. When the stimulation is not there, you feel bored, you have low energy, or when you've had the same stimulation, seen the same movie over and over again, it ceases to be of interest, it ceases to stimulate you. Whereas your own inner prana has a creative force connected to the prana of the universe and awakening a deeper intelligence within us. So pranayama is an essential daily practice for health, physically and psychologically, and even more so in the digital age. Prana must be calmed in the evening before you go to sleep, deepened and connected to the inner prana. And in the morning, you must also awaken that deeper, calm, but strong prana, collecting your pranic energies before kind of running off into the external world. And here, pranayama and pratyahara are very closely connected and very important. In fact, pranayama is the pratyahara of the prana, but the sense organs also have their prana. In Ayurveda, there are two main causes of disease. The first being what we call prajna parada, which is simply wrong judgment, lack of intelligence, lack of attention, awareness, or insight, and also wrong values and lack of self-awareness. And the second is the wrong use of the senses, essentially the overuse of the senses. Little bit of thunder here. Right use of the senses is the basis of health. Now, Upanishads say that we were created with 5 senses that keep us constantly looking outward. Well, now, besides our 5 biological senses, we have hundreds of digital senses, media, channels, events, and so forth. So we're constantly bombarded or electrified by stimulations from the outside, bright colors, noises, and by sensory media that is, of course, also trying to influence commercially, politically, any number of ways. We are being bombarded. And so we find we're very busy just keeping up with the sensory bombardment. And that, at the same time, we're losing our sensory acuity and inner senses. No screen in the world that has been devised or will be devised can equal the beauty of nature, the nuances, the colors, the changes, the seasons, and have an elevating spiritual effect upon us. So what's happening to us today, we're coming under mind control. The stimuli is so strong, it's kind of telling us who we are and what we should do. And we're getting trapped in our vision on a screen. And we are forgetting that in our true nature, we are not what we see on the screen or what we see outside at all. We are the seer, the witness, the inner consciousness that is inherently detached from all external reality, if even beyond the mind and its thoughts. Your thoughts don't belong to you, they're on the outside. What belongs to you is your inner awareness as pure consciousness. We also have inner senses, inner powers of seeing and hearing. Of course, we have our third eye or our inner drishti. We have our inner hearing or the shruti. And we have an ability to see things at a deeper level. So what's happened today is we're so bombarded at a sensory level that we get easily disturbed. And the senses are also providing us prana and nourishment. As I tell students, what junk food does to the body, junk impressions do to the mind. It disturbs the subconscious. It also programs you to things you don't want to do. And it causes a lot of mental, psychological disturbances. It prevents your sleep. it also causes miscommunication. So right use of the senses is very essential. And what yoga teaches us is in order to have a deeper awareness, we need what is called the ekagra chitta, or the one-pointed mind, which we don't have. We have a very weak power of attention. We'll discuss that more under dharana. But to have a one-pointed mind, you need to also have what I call ekagra prana, or a one-pointed prana. All this pranayama, including specifically nadi shodhana, is to bring us to a balanced, calm, and unitary prana, because that is the basis of a balanced, calm, and unitary mind. And so too, we also need to turn our senses within. That is the basis of the pranayama. Curiously, it is just starting to rain here. I hope it doesn't affect the audio. I didn't know there was rain coming, but in any case, that is what Mother Nature is also saying. So one-pointed attention, one-pointed vision, and learn to see the unity and also the nuances in nature. I've also told you that no screen can equal nature, nuances of colors. So what's happening today, under all of this technology, we are developing what is essentially a two-dimensional view of the world. Our mind is functioning like a box. We're looking at the world as everything is black and white. We are letting external factors tell us who we are and what to do. And this is simply the opposite of yoga. It's fine if it's information you can digest, but it also has its particular side effect. So every day we need to do pratyahara exercises. Many of them are simply going out in nature, looking at the sky, the clouds of the sunset, the space, visualizing or working with yantras, colors, visualizations, murtis, deities, and so forth, developing a higher or deeper form of sensory impressions and clearing these negative sensory impressions from the mind, because they accumulate there and they disturb us in various ways. I think you can hear the rainfall here. Mother Nature is also agreeing with us. A bit of thunder to go along with that as well. And in fact, it is not at all the rainy season here in any case. So right use of the senses and deepening the senses and regaining your what we call depth perception. What I tell students, please, every night before you go out to go to sleep, go and look out into the vastness of the sky, or at least visualize a vastness of space within your minds, and reclaim that depth perception, because nothing can be limited to information, to one point of view only. We live in what is called a multipolar world today, but actually we live in an infinite universe. I spend a lot of time in nature, particularly morning and evening, refocusing my awareness and connecting to the world of nature around me, the beauty, the power, the strength of the rocks, the plants, the trees, the deer that come to visit us. The human realm is just one very small part even of the nature on Earth. And our present humanity is just the one part of many humanities. And we also have the heritage of the great yogis and rishis within us as well. So we need to do a mantra, meditation, chanting, visualization. We need to use our senses in the proper way, the use of incense, the use of ghee lamps, the use of pujas and rituals, which all work with the tanmatras, which are the subtle energies of the senses that connect us to the inner lokas and the subtle realms and allow the sattvic and spiritual energies to come into our world. We need to create a sattvic environment in our home, our meditation room, even our computer room should have its murtis, devatas, pictures, incense, or we should be drinking Brahmi tea to clear the mind for meditation and so forth. And then I want to get to the most important point, which is the power of attention or dharana. You cannot talk about meditation without dharana. You cannot have intelligence without dharana. You cannot see anything clearly without dharana. Dharana simply is your power of attention. A yogi can hold his or her power of attention steady on a single object or a single point or a single truth principle for hours without becoming distracted. In our modern digital world, our power of attention is shrinking and being diminished rapidly. It's measured in minutes or even in seconds or now even in parts of seconds, which means we have no continuity of awareness. We do not see. Before we understand one thing, the mind is somewhere else. We're running from sensation to sensation, which means there's no continuity to our awareness and there's no witnessing awareness. Dharana yoga is always rooted upon detachment or vairagya, which is the basis of all psychological immunity and also mental health and harmony, calm, emotional balance overall. So you must cultivate your power of attention. It is the basis of true education. And yet it's not being taught anywhere. Why? Because we're deluging everyone with information, stimulation, and changing ideas and perspectives. So there's like a mass of confusion being created. There are many ways of developing the power of attention, whether it's trataka or fixing the gaze or shambhavi mudra or carrying the gaze within, whether it's doing dharana on your prana, being focused on what is happening with your prana or your breath, doing dharana on a chakra, the Nabhi chakra, to see, are you being balanced? Is that samana VaYU stabilized, or is your mind running all over the place? And I like to also tell students that the most valuable thing you have is your own power of attention. Do not just simply give it away superficially or for entertainment. Whatever you give your attention to, you allow it to enter into your mind, in your consciousness. Another point I often say is that we let people into our minds we would never let into our homes, and certainly would never become friends with. So we need discrimination, viveka, buddhi, dharana shakti, for what are we bringing in with our attention? Are we able to push away what is negative, what is misleading, what is disturbing or conflicting, what is trying to program us? Because whatever you give your attention to is going to be programming you in one way or another. We see that in commercial advertisement quite easily. We see that in propaganda. But we must always maintain that inner witness observation so we can choose. You know, if you go to a store to buy fruit or vegetables, you have some attention. You don't just pick up what's ever there. But that's what we're doing in our minds now. We're taking what's ever there, or we're being bombarded from many different sides. So we have to be very discerning into what we give our attention to. And we must remember the most important thing is to turn our attention within, which is not to simply turn our attention on our personality or our memory. It's to search inward for the origin of the mind, the origin of the prana, the origin of I. Who am I? We need the inner inquiry to go on. What does it help us to know everything about the external world if we do not know ourselves? And there are many yogic tools for developing power of attention or dharana. One of the simplest is simply the inner repetition of the mantra, created because the mantra has the power to change the mental field. Our mental field is made up of words, sounds, thoughts, vibrations, memories. And whatever thought we give most attention to takes over the mind. Simple rule, if something takes over half of your mind, the rest of your mind will go with it as well. What are you giving your attention to? That is what you are going to become in the long run. And so there's all this rajas and tamas trapped in the mind, the memories, the conditioning, the past, the emotions. And a mantra done with awareness, particularly either with devotion, compassion, or just simply the desire, the seeking to know, gains a sattvic quality. So if you give primary attention to the mantra, then you will have a sattvic mind. The mind will naturally purify itself, and you will not be attracted to useless stimuli from the outside. You should have the mantric mind, and mantra is also the core of learning. And through using the mantra in our own minds, we can connect to the cosmic sound vibration, the cosmic intelligence, the Mahat Tattva. We have this wonderful internet to go on, but we also have the Chitakasha, which carries the consciousness of the universe that we can also ally ourselves with. That is what the great yogis and rishis explored, and that is where they got their knowledge, which was beyond technology. The yogi is in a state of awareness where the yogi does not need anything from the outside. He or she can understand that from within. How did the knowledge of yoga, Ayurveda, Vedanta come up? It came up through meditation, not something simply given from the outside, but there is the external aspect of teaching we must respect as well. Whatever we give our full attention to in meditation will reveal to us its inner secret of what it is, whether it is the nature of the flower, the planet, the star. In yoga, the ultimate way of knowledge is the samadhi pramana, not anything of the chitta vrittis. It's the samadhi pramana, the silent mind, when the vrittis are mastered or detached from or transcended, the yogic state of the nirodha. So daily meditation is also very important, but it requires sattvic living, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana to be able to move into that. Into that, you can meditate on the deity, you can meditate on who am I, you can meditate on any aspect of nature, truth, principles. You can take a yogic text, a Vedantic text, take key principles and simply meditate upon them, concentrate upon them. And in that regard, we then can create the self-awareness, the inner intelligence, the connection to the cosmos inwardly, discovering the universe inside yourself. So we're not dependent upon the external factors. Quantum mechanics is great and interesting in many ways, but moving into cosmic consciousness yourself is actually a lot more powerful and interesting and transformative. So again, I don't want to say the technology is an enemy. It needs to be adapted and used properly because it can free our time for yoga and meditation at a deeper level. And I also want to say that modern medicine, psychology has its place, but we can never substitute for the healing powers of nature, the plants, the impressions, the mountains, the rivers, or for the psychological value of simply calming our mind and deepening our awareness and moving beyond the self-image or the ego identity, the I am the body, I am the mind person, which is our outer being, to our deeper self-awareness, which is one with all and connected to all. So in other words, to handle our new technology, we have to return to Ayurveda, yoga, and nature, but also we need to develop and understand the technology as an instrument, not as an agent. Sanjeev Sanyal made an interesting point. He said AI is a good slave, but it's a bad master. It's good for handling outer things, but at the same time, we need to be rooted in our own deeper and inner reality. And that requires not only our own individual meditation, it also requires satsang, visiting with teachers, classes like this, and the ability then to return to the yogic dimension of life. And you can also use the technological dimension of life as well, but don't be controlled by it. Rather, let your inner awareness prevail, preserve the sacred divine prana within you, use your senses with beauty, grace, and concentration. Respect the divine being, the inner self within you, connect to the presence, the heritage of the rishis, yogis, sages, devatas. Overall, I believe we are coming to the later phase of our talk here, and I think we may have a little space for questions, but I again want to thank you for inviting me to this event. Whatever I'm able to share with you comes from my study of the Vedic teachings with various gurus and sages, of which there are many, some known into the South, like you, like Swami Dayananda or Shivananda Murti or Ramana Maharshi, Ganapati Muni, Swami Chinmayananda, and so forth. There are many resources that you have that the rest of the world doesn't have. And those of you who are taking up these teachings from the United States, it's a great connection and a great wisdom to share with all, and many practical tools for changing your life and improving the society. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.